All right, guys, let's knock out this practice test video. Got to apologize up front. I'm using my Apple Pencil. You're going to hear a bunch of clicks. It is what it is. Sorry about that. So there's one right there. Number one, given that cosine 7/25, find the other 5 trig functions. I'm drawing my triangle number. Even before I draw that, I know secant's reciprocal. I'll go ahead and put 25/7 right there. Easy peasy. Okay, so cosine, there's my theta. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. I'm going to do Pythagorean theorem real quick. 7 squared. I'm going to get 24. Okay, I just did Pythagorean theorem to get the 24. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosecant is reciprocal of sine. Tangent's opposite over adjacent. 24/7 is cotangent is reciprocal of tangent. Cosine 60. Got 30, 60, 90 triangle. You should know that by now for sure. Let's go 30 up there, 60 here. Remember the hypotenuse is 2, the short leg is 1, the long leg is square root of 3. So cosine 60 is adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent of 60 is the 1. The hypotenuse is a 2, it's 1/2. Sine 45 degrees. 45 degrees, remember, is 45, 45. We go 1, 1 square root of 2 on that one. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, which would be 1 over the square root of 2. You need to fix that number for me, make it square root of 2 over 2. Number 4, 5, and 6 are all calculator. On number 3, I'm punching in 72, and I'm going to second apps. Number 1 for degrees and 55. Second apps for minutes, which is number 2. Hit enter, and it changes it to decimal for you. You're welcome for that. That's saving you a whole lot of work. It says 2 decimal places, so I'm going to do 72.92. Number 5 says sine 54. Make sure you're in degree mode. Just type in sine 54. You should get 0.8090. Then it says cosecant 49.5. Calculator doesn't have a cosecant button, so we're going to do 1 over the reciprocal, which is sine. 1 over sine 49.5. Punching that in right now. 1 over sine 49.5. I'm getting 1.3151. Then it says find theta. Whenever it says to find theta, that's the inverse. So when it says sine theta is 0.226, you got to go second sine of 0.226 or inverse sine 0.2226. And I'm getting, the angle I'm getting is 12.86 degrees. And then it says find the exact angle for where sine is 1/2. Okay, that's it. That's going to be a 30, 60, or 90. So I'm looking back up at this 30, 60, 90 triangle I had a second ago, right here. And it said sine is 1/2. Remember, sine is opposite over adjacent, so I need the 1 to be the opposite side, and 2 to be the hypotenuse. I think I said adjacent. It's got to be hypotenuse. So opposite the 30 is the 1, hypotenuse is the 2, so that's just 30 degrees. And that's all based on that 30, 60, 90 triangle. All right, 8 and 9, just say solve the triangle. You got to find everything that's missing. Here's what I know on this first one. I know little a is 14.5, little b is 19.2. And you got to use SOHCAHTOA. This is a right triangle, so I'm going to do SOHCAHTOA to find everything. I'm going to find angle A. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do tangent of big A, because what I know is I know the opposite of A, and I know the adjacent to A is right there. Now, because I'm looking for an angle, big A, because I'm looking for an angle, I'm going to do inverse tangent. So I'm going inverse tan, second tangent, 14.5 divided by 19.2 on my calculator, close the parentheses. I'm getting about, we'll go nearest degree, 37 degrees. Now, if I know 37 degrees is A, I can figure out B because I know all 3 angles that have to be 180, which means B has got to be 53 degrees. So no trig on that at all. What I'm missing though is I'm missing side C. So what I'm going to do real quickly is I'm going to do the same angle. This I'm going to do sine. I'm going to do sine of A, which is 37 degrees, by the way, equals the opposite, which is 14.5 over little c. Hope you can read that, 14.5 over little c. Now, because I'm looking for the number on the bottom, remember I'm going to divide. So I'm doing 14.5 divided by sine 37, hitting enter right there. And my little c is 24.1. All right, and that's all you do. So we're using SOHCAHTOA to find everything that's missing right there. And I used it twice, and then used the fact that I knew what the angles were to find the third angle. Okay, I'm going to erase that real quick so I can use that to find the next problem, because it's the same triangle. Okay, angle A this time is 37.42. So what that gives me already is I can find angle B. So I'm going to do 180 minus 90 minus 37.42. That's going to give me 52.58. So I know angle B is 52.58 degrees. No trig yet. That's that angle right there, angle B. So I know both of them. Also tell me the hypotenuse is 28.4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use angle A. I'm going to go opposite over hypotenuse, which is sine. So I'm going sine of A, which is 37.42 degrees, equals the opposite, little a, over 28.4. And that's going to tell me exactly what little a is. So I'm going 28.4 times sine 37.42 degrees. I'm getting 17.34, little a. And then to find little b, I'm going to do the same thing, except this time instead of sine, I'm going to do cosine of 37.42 because little b is adjacent to angle A. So I'm going to multiply this time 28.4 times cosine 42, cosine 37.42, and I'm getting 22.6. So there's your three answers for number 9. Again, SOHCAHTOA twice, and this subtract the angles from 180 once. Both problems kind of worked out the same way. Number 10, got another picture for this one, a triangle. The longest zip line in the world is the zip rider at Icy Strait Point, Alaska. Its length, that's the length of the zip line, is 54.95 feet. That's over a mile. Has a vertical drop of 1320. So the vertical drop is 1320. The zip line itself is 54.95 feet. All right. And it wants to know what the angle of depression is. Now, don't confuse this. Remember, angle of depression, elevation mean the same thing, and they must touch the horizontal. The horizontal in this case is the ground. So I know it's going to sound weird, but the angle of depression is right here. I'm going to put a little X right there. There's the angle we're looking for. So look what sides I know. I have the opposite, and I have the hypotenuse. So I'm going to do sine of X is the opposite over the hypotenuse. Now, because you're looking for an angle, every time you're looking for an angle, remember it's inverse. So I'm going inverse sine, second sine, 1320 divided by 54.95, and it's giving me 13.9 degrees. Or you could put 14 degrees, probably be okay. 13.9 degrees. 13.9 degrees doesn't sound real steep, but if you're on a zip line, it's pretty darn steep. Okay, number 11, how far from the base of a building is the bottom of a 30-foot ladder that makes an angle of 75 degrees with the ground? Okay, so here's the building right there. There's the ladder. Ladder goes diagonal. You should know that. There's my right angle. The ladder's 30 feet, so I'm going 30 feet there. The angle it makes with the ground is 75 degrees. It wants to know how far from the base of the building. It wants to know how far that side is right there. So look what I've got. That's the X is the adjacent side to the angle, and 30 is the hypotenuse. So I'm going to go cosine because it's adjacent over hypotenuse. It's adjacent over hypotenuse. So I'm just going to multiply 30 times cosine 75. A lot of calculator stuff on this test. Make sure you're good with the calculator tomorrow. I'm getting 7.76 feet for how far away it is from the building. All right, number 12. Right interval notation, no work on this one whatsoever. Just got to remember how to write this. This first one has an equal, so I'm going to put a bracket with the 2. I'm going to put the comma, the 5.8, and the 5.8 gets a parentheses because there's no equal sign. 13, way back from the past. That's just straight up multiplication here. And when you do a binomial times a trinomial, you take the a all the way through, then the 3b all the way through. So if I take a all the way through, I'm going to get 5a to the 4th power minus 6a squared b plus 5ab squared. Now I'm going to take the negative 3b through. I get negative 15a cubed b plus 18ab squared minus 15b cubed. Now I'm just looking for stuff I can combine. I know I can't combine anything with the 5a to the 4th. That's kind of dumb. I got a 6a squared. That's the only a squared up there, so I'm going to bring it down. 6a squared b. There's a 5ab squared and an 18ab squared. That's 23ab squared. Those two are gone now. And I have a negative 15a cubed b and a minus 15b cubed. So I can only add two things, so which is kind of weird. But there's your final answer. That's an oldie. All right, 14 factor. That's a cube. All right, so you're going to go small, big, cube root. By the way, the cube root of 216 is 6. You can punch it in your calculator into math. You'll find the cube root button there. Square the first one. Multiply together. Change the sign. Square the second one. Gosh, you should know that by now. Number 15. Factor this one. That looks like slide, divide, slide. So I'm sliding the 4. So 4 times 3 is 12. What factors of 12 add up to be 8? Yes. Good job. 6 and 2. Now, that's the slide. Don't forget to divide by 4. All right, now, 6 over 4 is really 3 halves. 2 over 4 is really 1/2, and because they didn't go evenly, you got to slide again. So I'm sliding the 2 back in front of the x in both parentheses. 2 back in front of the x. Now, there's your final answer. If you want to, you could do FOIL right there. If you do FOIL and check your answer, you should get right back what you started with. Number 16, rationalize the denominator. Anytime we rationalize, we're going to multiply by the conjugate. The conjugate is 3 plus the square root of 5. 3 plus the square root of 5. And don't forget, when you multiply conjugates, you just do FU. You just do FL. So if I do FL on the bottom, 3 times 3 is 9. Square root of 5 is 5. On my numerator, I'm just going to do distribute. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times the square root of 5 is 4 on the square root of 5. So on my numerator, I'm done. I cannot add those together because one has a radical and one does not. On the bottom, I get 4. And I'd be done, except for the fact that I can take a 4 out of everything. I can cancel a 4 out of each term. So I'm going to do that. 4 goes into 12 3 times. 4 goes into 4 1 time. And 4 goes into 4 1 time on the bottom, which means I would just have a 1 on the bottom, which you don't even have to write. So it's just 3 plus the square root of 5. That would have worked out kind of awesome. Number 17. If you're going to add fractions together, got to have an LCD. By the way, that should be an x right there. This first fraction is an x minus 5 and an x minus 2 if you factor the bottom. The second one is an x minus 5 and an x minus 3. Now your LCD, by the way, is every factor. So my LCD is going to be x minus 5, x minus 2, x minus 3. We've talked about this all year. Like I'm looking at this one first, that denominator, and seeing what's missing. What is it missing? What's missing? The x minus 3. So I'm going to do 3x times x minus 3, which is 3x squared minus 9x. Now, big deal is that minus sign. A minus sign scares me here. The second fraction is missing the x minus 2. So I'm going to do negative 2x times x minus 2. Don't forget the negative sign right here. All right, negative 2x times x is negative 2x squared. Negative 2x times negative 2 is positive 4. That's a big deal, that minus sign. Please be careful. All right, so now let's add what you can on the top. I have an x squared, and 1x squared on the top. That should be a 4x, by the way. And I have a minus 5x over x minus 5, x minus 2, x minus 3. Now, one thing I noticed about the top, I could actually factor out an x and make it x minus 5 right there. So what that means, the x minus 5s would cancel. So my final answer is going to be just an x in my numerator and an x minus 2 and an x minus 3 on the bottom. Be careful there. Make sure and check and see if you can factor the top after you add all your stuff and see if anything cancels or not. Number 18, find the domain. Only time domain is not all real numbers, remember, is if there's some kind of radical or if there's a fraction. And there's a fraction here, and you cannot have x on the bottom, so we're going to say all x such that x cannot equal negative 4. That's the only thing x cannot be. Number 19, and the last one. 19, find the inverse. Remember, take the x and y's and switch them. So I'm going to put the x over here and the y over here. After you switch them, you got to get the y by itself. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to act like that's x over 1. Going to cross multiply x times y and x times 8. And multiply the other way and just get 1 times 3 is 3. Now I'm trying to get the y by itself, remember. So first thing I'm doing is I'm moving the 8x over there. And then I'm going to divide by x because it says x times y on the left. So I'm going to divide by x, which gives me 8x plus 3 over x. And one last little thing, take out that y, remember, and we're going to write the inverse of f of inverse of f of x. All right, guys, that's it. Hope it helps. Use it as much as you need to. And let's make 100 tomorrow. Sounds great. See you then.